Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. Today I am looking at Ectokid issue 3. Now we're picking up where we left off. This is another issue written by James Robinson and the same team from previously, from what I can tell. Dex is in the Ectosphere and he's walking around and he's yanked off the street by a guy named Jindrak, who warns him that there are spies for La Voisin, the old witch of Louis XIV's court, having to run to escape her, and they manage to get to a house where Jindrak has been living. And Jindrak's not his real name is James Nigel, and he's a friend of Dex's father. Well, he sends for some other allies, including Edgar Allan Poe and Cyrano de Bergerac. There's a few other guys. One's like a wizard who uses magic brought over from Africa, a sailor who's a tough guy, but there's also a traitor among them. And before long, they are being swarmed by these monsters, led by La Voisin. Her name is actually spelled two different ways in this book. Once on page 16 is Voisin, and then previously on page 7, her name is spelled Voisin. So there's some discrepancy in the pronunciation for me. So I'm not even sure how it's actually pronounced. But they managed to flee from the monsters, fighting their whole way up to the roof. And there's an awesome 2-page spread of them being surrounded by these demons. And they're doing a pretty good job. These demons were summoned by this witch, and they're called Expurgatorius, which are like summoned monsters. And just when things look like they're going poorly, they're losing friends left and right. There's a bright flash of light, and who should arrive but the Etherites, the Ectosphere, like, pseudo-police enforcers. And they came out of a hole in the sky. So there's a lot more to the Ectosphere than they've told us so far. But we don't know what happens because it ends on this cliffhanger. It's really, actually, very interesting. The world building in this is pretty fascinating. The Ectosphere is an interesting concept, but it's not a boring issue. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of, there's this letter that Dex's father wrote to him that thereafter, because I think it's supposed to reveal, well, they seem to think it reveals the location of his machine, but Dex is trying to find out more about his dad, and they're really advancing the storyline. It's a very action-packed issue. It's a good issue. It's not the best thing I've ever read, but it's definitely action-oriented, and it's not bad. I didn't see any swearing, as long as you don't mind, spiritual realms and ghosts and magic and that sort of thing. It's not a bad book. I've definitely read worse. It's worth picking up for $1 or $2. But yeah, this story's still pretty good. I'm intrigued to see where it goes. It looks like everybody may have been zapped away, but obviously there's something else going on. So yeah, it looks like the book's going along pretty well, and I'm definitely saying that if you're interested in supernatural horror, this is a pretty fun book. Probably not for everyone, but I'm not sure why it got canceled as quickly as it did. So far, it seems pretty good. So yeah, I'm going to put that in the recommend list. That'll do it for this one. As always, thanks for listening, and we hope to see you on the next episode.